Hi everyone, this is going to be the highly requested August 2024 Earth Science Regents. I have not done this one yet, so we're going to do it together and you'll see my thought process as we go through all the questions. If you want, do the Regents first and then come back and watch this video so you can watch me go over it and you can see how you do. So we're going to do part 1, which is the 50 multiple choice, and then we'll do the 35 short answer. We got our reference table all set up, and let's see how this was. All right, so question 1, it says, for each statement, choose the word or expression, blah, blah, blah. The graph below shows the change in water level height measured in meters at the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City on July 9th. So they got this little wavy thing here. According to the pattern shown on the graph, the next high tide will be when? So we're going to have to find the gap between the two high tides. So we got this spot, which is 6 a.m., right? And then this spot, which is kind of after 6 p.m. So it's a little over 12 hours, maybe 12 and a half hours. We'll just estimate it at about 12 hours and we'll see how that goes. So the next one's going to be, if this is 6 p.m., it's going to be July 10th. So July 10th at 6 a.m., maybe 6:15 a.m. So let's see if that's a choice. 6:53 a.m. So that's going to be our closest one there. So that looks good to me. Number 2, which event is correlated with an asteroid impact on Earth that occurred approximately 65 million years ago? So for this, we're going to want to go on our reference table. We're going to go to our geologic timescale. We got to go to 65 million years ago, which is about here. And you could see it says mass extinction of dinosaurs, ammonoids, and many land plants. So we're going to pick that one. See, ammonoids. That's the only one that has anything to do with that. Number 3, light observed from most galaxies in our universe shows a shift towards what? So for this, you have to know that a red shift means the galaxy's moving away from us and that the universe is expanding. So it's going to be red and expanding. So we're going to go with 4. Number 4, the Milky Way is a giant galaxy. That's our spiral galaxy that we live in. So that's 3. Put these numbers up here. The approximate altitude of Polaris at Riverhead. The altitude of Polaris is equal to the latitude. So we need to get the latitude of Riverhead. So for that, if you don't have that memorized, like me, you can go to page 3. And if this actually wants to rotate, there we go. So we can go to Riverhead and we'll see Riverhead down here. And Riverhead's at about 41 degrees north. So we're going to go with 41. All right, 1 through 5, so far so good. Earth's rotation, we want the Foucault pendulum. That's a memorize. This is a wind vane that measures wind direction. This is an anemometer that measures wind speed. And this is a barometer that measures air pressure. So it's going to be 4. The other 3 are weather instruments. Rural areas on Long Island receive approximately the same amount of precipitation as urban areas of New York City. Compare rural and urban areas. So they're saying if you imagine New York City, it's got like paved streets and things like that. So if it's a lot of paved roads, you're going to definitely have less infiltration. So that's out and that's out. If you have less infiltration, that's definitely going to be more runoff because the water's not able to go into the ground, so there's going to be more runoff. Runoff's like flooding. Number 8, which diagram best represents the positions of the equator and the Earth's axis? So it's about a 23.5 degree tilt. And Polaris is above the North Pole, so it's going to be 4. These are way too tilted right here, and Polaris has to be above the North Pole. Number 9, Earth's early atmosphere is been formed when? So oh, it says how. During the early Archean era. So can we go find this? Let's see. Early Archean right here. So we have some stuff. It says oldest known rocks, evidence of biological carbon, earliest stromatolites. Doesn't really tell us much there. So I guess they just want you to know that volcanic outgassing is going to be how our early atmosphere was created. So that's like, it seems like that's a memorize. So outgassing just means the gas that came out of early volcanoes when the planet was first forming, and that pretty much made the sky. Number 10, in the water cycle, it could be inferred that the precipitation has occurred if what? So we want precipitation to have occurred? This is a weird question. Ponds covered with ice, that doesn't matter. Fog moving in? No. Trees are covered with snow? Yeah, if it's snowing, then it precipitated. Grass is covered with frost? No. So it snowed, too. So that just requires you to know what are your 4 forms of precipitation, which is rain, snow, sleet, and hail. Number 11, we have a constellation. Which motion causes the patterns of stars to be visible in the fall, but not spring? So we want to change the seasons. The seasons are changed by the Earth revolving around the sun. So it's going to be 3. 12. Okay, we have a path of a hurricane over the Atlantic Ocean. So this is going to be based on the wind, which is in charge of the ocean currents, but we need to find the wind direction. So let's see if page 4 helps us. This is a tricky question, I'm not going to lie. Go up to page 4. Flip that. So if you see by the Atlantic Ocean here, right here, we're going to go down here. Get my drawing here. Down here-ish. That's where it is in the picture. So we kind of try to find an arrow like that. I'm thinking it's going to be 4. Yeah, the hurricane's going to come up the coast of the East Coast. So this is going to be the best answer. 4. I have to say, that one was kind of tricky. If you know the paths of how hurricanes move in real life, you know, they start, you know, think by Florida and they come up there. So that helps. But if you didn't know that, just to go use the reference table and try to find that pattern there, see how it comes up the Gulf Stream right there? That's where you would look. So that would be tricky if you didn't know hurricane paths. The air motion is caused by what? So why does it saying warm air rises? Because it has less density. So that one was easy. Number 1. Okay, 14, relative humidity, we got a dry bulb temperature 28 and the wet bulb temperature 15. If you have a dry bulb and a wet bulb, the first thing you're going to want to do is subtract. So that's going to be 13 degrees Celsius difference. So now if I go to 28 and 13 on my chart here, 28 into row 13 is going to be 21% relative humidity. So that's going to be 3. All right, moving along. 15. Which diagram best represents the incoming solar radiation compared to outgoing? So the way this works is that if you had the ground, right, the shortwave visible light comes in from the sun, and then it gets absorbed and re-radiated as long-wave infrared. So you want that. Shortwave coming in, long-wave going out, so it's going to be 2. 16. Which statement best explains why most of the surface of Lake Erie remains a liquid in late autumn, even though the surrounding land may be freezing? So this, anything to do with liquid water, water has a high specific heat. So it takes a lot of energy to heat it up and cool it down. So that's going to be 1. 17, the volcanic ash in the atmosphere causes what? Look at this ash cloud. The sun's up here, right? That's going to completely block heat. So first of all, it's going to be less transparent. That means you can't see through it as much. And you're going to have increasing reflection, because when you get that in, that the hit the cloud is going to be reflected directly back into space. So that is actually a pretty tricky question, because some people might think if the sun's being blocked, then it's going to reflect less sun, but it's actually the ash cloud's going to reflect it out back into space. So I would say that question was actually kind of hard. Number 18, Ireland and England, islands across the northwest coast of Europe, have climates that are warmer than the climate of New York, even though these islands are located farther north. This increased average temperature is mostly due to heat supplied by the prevailing winds and what? Okay, so we need to find the northwest coast of Europe and figure out which ocean current is there. Let's go check it out. So here's Europe. Northwest Europe is here, and we want it to be warmer. So the warm current is dark, so it's going to be this one. The North Atlantic current is going to be Y. It's warmer. 2. Now, you might think that it could be Canary current, but as you could see, Canary current is a cool current, so that's not going to warm the area. 19. The diagram shows the front fin bones of a Devonian fish and the front leg bones of a present-day amphibian. Okay. Similarities to these bones support the inference that they what? What? Why is this even on this test? This is like a biology question. It's because they have a common ancestor? That is, honestly, I've never seen a question like that in my life on the Earth Science Regents. That's like a biology question. I'm baffled by that. Biology? That's weird. Alright, anyway. Number 20, surface bedrock found in the St. Lawrence lowlands region of New York State was formed during which periods of geologic time? So we got to go St. Lawrence lowlands. All right, let's see here. Let's see, St. Lawrence lowlands up here. So we want to look there on page 3. So up here, so it's those diagonal lines, and if you look at those diagonal lines here, it's going to be Ordovician. Is that an answer? Cambrian and Ordovician. So is there Cambrian over here? Is this like pattern here? Yeah, Cambrian and Ordovician. There it is. That's how you do that. Number 21. More volcanic ash is useful for determining relative age of rock layers. Okay, so this is an index fossil question. Index fossils are either volcanic ash or a fossil that occurs over a short period of time but over a giant area. So 1 is going to be the answer. That's like a memorize. You have to know like the best qualities of an index fossil is short period, large area. Sediments that form a sedimentary rock usually are deposited in a layer that's parallel to Earth's surface. This is, wow, I can't believe they put this. So this is called the principle of horizontality, number 3. This is just remembering that, which that's really stupid question because it's like a straight up memorize. This just means that the layers are deposited this way. So if you were to see a layers like this that are squeezed, you can determine that this rock was moved because of the principle of original horizontality states that everything has to be flat before it could be adjusted. Or if you saw like a tilted layer of rock layers, that could also show that it probably was uplifted on one side. 23. Which labeled rock layer at location I would most likely, location 1 in Roman numerals, would most likely have the same relative age as rock layer X at location 2. So we want to find this layer on the left. Okay, so we're looking for patterns here. So it goes, this one is this one is this one is this. So C is X, which means this layer is that, and this one is B. So there's that, there's that, there's that, there's that, there's that, there's that. Yeah, that's right. So C is X, or X is C. 24. Which evidence supports the inference that South America and Africa were once joined together as Pangea? So they pretty much connect like puzzle pieces, but there's also fossils on each side of that puzzle piece that are the same. So that's what correlation means. It's like matching. Rock and fossil matching can be made where the two continents fit together. Number 25, the Tonga Trench is located at what type of plate boundary? So we got to go to our reference table, go to page 5, and we're going to find the Tonga Trench. Where is the Tonga Trench? So I can't find it anywhere, which means that I probably didn't read something. Let's go look. The Tonga Trench is located at what type of plate boundary? Nope, I just don't see it for some reason. Keep looking around. So this question, in my opinion, is pretty messed up because you would think that you would have to go to the plate boundary chart to find it. And that was my initial thing. And you're looking all over this thing and you're like, I don't see a Tonga Trench. But then what you have to remember is that a trench can only be found at a convergent plate boundary. So this question is evil. That's an evil question. Horrible. The map below shows a stream drainage pattern, so it's like lines vertically with these little branches coming off of them. Which one would it be? Well, right away you could just see it's 4, because the lines would go up vertically in those valleys, and they'd sort of go to each side. So 4 is the best answer. I'm still in shock a little bit about that last question, because that's so mean. All right, this one, it looks like it's a gradient question. Wow. So if you don't know your formula for gradient, on page 1, right here, change in field value divided by the distance. So we're going to go change in field value is 4293 divided by the distance of 162. So we're going to have to get a calculator here. 26.5, yeah, 3. So that's pretty easy. Going on. 28. The mountain landscape at Old Forge and the plateau are classified based on differences in what? It's the bedrock structure. Because a mountain looks different. Mountain, right, looks different than a plateau. 29. The steep slopes and sharp angular features of this region compared to New York State. The climate where the landscape is developing most likely. This looks like a desert. So it's going to be hotter with less water. That's going to be 3. Okay, we have a valley between 2 mountains, so that looks like a U shape there to me, which means it was carved out by a glacier. So, you know what's kind of messed up about this question? They show the water there, right? So any student might think that it's from water. But since it's a U, right, it has to be from a glacier. So again, that is messed up. It's misleading. I just don't get the point in trying to, like, gotcha students. It's a gotcha question. Totally messed up. It's like the same with that Tonga question. This is a gotcha question. 25. I don't believe in gotcha questions. Gotcha. Like, how can we just make a question so terrible that the kid would think it's the opposite answer? It's stupid. 31. The photograph below shows 3 different pebbles that have been transported for different amounts of time. The erosional process that has shaped these pebbles is what? So they're rounded. It's definitely not sandblasting, because this one got rounded. So definitely more rounding, so it's abrasion, number 2. Which photo best shows the result of deposition of sediments into a large body of water? You're looking for a delta. So it's going to be 1. This is a bay. This is from glaciers carving out. These are the Finger Lakes, and this just looks like, I don't know, little barrier islands or something. But this is definitely the right answer, number 1, delta. 33. The diagram below represents a stream and a valley. Letter X represents a surface feature. So this is literally a memorize. This is the sides of a flat river. That's called a floodplain. So that's literally a memorize. The famous green sand beach of Hawaii gets its color from green colored grains of which mineral? Okay, cool. So just go to our mineral chart. I mean, I know it's olivine, because olivine's the color of a green olive, right? So, but if you didn't know that, you would search for all 4 of them, and you could see that it says commonly green next to olivine. So that's 3. Which metamorphic rock forms by contact metamorphism? All right, now we're getting into way easier questions here. So we're going to go to metamorphic rock chart. And we need to only find contact metamorphism. So you could see down here, contact, Hornfells is a good answer there. Because this is only regional, and these 3 are regional or contact. So it has to be Hornfells, and it's there. Cool. I try to, if I can, I don't look at the answer choices, and then I go try to find the answer, and then I come back and I see if that's one of the choices. Because if it's not, then I know I really messed up. Okay. So we got this thingy. I'm going to read the question and come back to the picture in a second. Fossil evidence of which animal is preserved in bedrock unit X? Okay, so bedrock unit X is here. In the Newark lowlands. Ugh, this is such a nasty question. So we got to go find the Newark lowlands. Right here. and then go to that spot here, which is going to be, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like this? Is it that dashes? Am I doing something crazy right now? Dashes is going to be Cretaceous and Pleistocene? Oh no, no, it's diagonals. Diagonal dashes. It's late Triassic, early Jurassic. Are you kidding me? What am I doing wrong? Late Triassic, and then you got to go to figure out which one of these is in the late Triassic? Is that true? So in here, this section to the right would be, I hate this because I don't have a double page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth box up. Counting the shade. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth box up. L. And then you find the L fossil. Is it serious? Was that really it? Coelophysis? That stinks. The way that you just saw me solve that, like you can go rewind if you want. This is the hardest question so far. Unless I did that in a different way that they didn't, because I did it in a different way, but no, I think that's the only way you'd be able to do it. That is terrible. That's really hard. A lot of people probably got that question wrong. 37. Compared to other bedrock units, the relative age of the Palisades sill intrusion is what? Okay, so they're comparing the Palisades sill to X and Y. So let's see. So it seems like Palisades sill cut through X and Y. So X and Y are both older than Palisades sill. It's younger than both X and Y. Yeah. Approximately how many millions of years ago did the intrusion occur? So it was after. Does it say anything about this? Oh, it's because this is actually on this. So if you go look here, look, intrusion of Palisades sill. So it's between the Jurassic and Triassic, just like the other one. So it looks like it's like 200 million years ago. Is that an answer? Yikes. Again, that question's hard. Man, this is a doozy, this one. This test is was not easy. Okay. I'm actually, maybe they made the short answer questions easier. Alright, so this is some place, continent. Why would B have warmer climate than E? It's closer to the equator. Latitude. Which location does high elevation cause temperatures to remain low all year? So you need a mountain. E, F, G, or D? F is on the top of a mountain. 2. Alright, we're going on. We got these locations here. So what I would do is, if you can, like this is New York. That's 42 degrees north. This is the equator. So, like, you got to have these memorized. This is, every direction is north, so this is the South Pole. 90 degrees south. And this has a 90-degree angle on December 21st. This is 23.5 degrees south. That's the Tropic of Capricorn. So that should answer a lot. Which location on which date would the observer not experience sunrise or sunset? It's going to be location D, because the sun's there. Yeah, location D on December 21st. The sun moves across the sky at the rate of what? It's always the same. It's always 15 degrees per hour. Because the Earth rotates 360 degrees in 24 hours, so the sun's always moving 15 degrees per hour. Which phrase most accurately describes the length and direction of the observer's noontime shadow on December 21st and June 21st? Where? Location C. December 21st, June 21st. So they're going to be the same, but different direction, because if this person's here, the shadow would go this way, and if this person's here, this shadow would go that way. So same length, different direction. Yikes, that question is hard. That's hard. Which statement best explains why the solar noon position of the sun changes throughout the year? It's because throughout the year, right, the seasons change. And that means that's because the Earth revolves around the sun on a tilted axis. Tilt of the Earth, yeah, the tilt doesn't change, so that's out, so it's 3. Man, I'm sorry for anyone who had to take this test. Which event is associated with the formation of the large crack in the eastern branch of the African Rift? Well, this is on tectonic activity, it says. It's not a tsunami, it's not flooding, it's not down warping, so it's got to be an earthquake. Which characteristic best describes the rock that forms at the Earth's surface where these active rifts occur? Okay, so if rock is forming and a rift boundary, the magma is coming up and cooling, so it's going to be igneous. So in terms of volcanic and plutonic, they're going to cool really, really fast, so it's going to be volcanic. And if you didn't know the difference between volcanic, plutonic, you can go on the igneous rock chart, which is here, and you could look, volcanic is extrusive, and that's going to be your basalt that's commonly formed, so it's going to be volcanic. Which major tectonic plate is the Afar region located? So this is the Afar region, I guess, right? So then you have to figure out which plate that is. Let me just make sure I know what I'm doing here. Afar region's here. So which plate is that? This is the Arabian plate, and this is the... Let's go look on the reference table. So we're looking like over here. So it's on the African plate. Or they want us to say specifically, because there's a Somalian plate, a Nubian plate. They don't have that. So it's going to be the African plate. Weird. I don't like that question. Okay, solar system. Which set of planets is the period of revolution of the first planet 1/2 the orbital period of revolution of the second planet listed? Oh, this is annoying. Go to your period of revolutions down here. All right. Now we gotta like figure this out. So Jupiter period of revolution is 11.9 years. So everywhere that I see Jupiter, I'm writing 11.9 years. Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn we need. So Neptune is 164.8. Okay, so it has to be, the first one has to be half of the second one, so that one's wrong. Now we need Uranus and Saturn, or Uranus if you want to be precise. 84 and then 29.5. So 84, so that's not half. 84, 8 plus 8 is 16. 84, 29.5, it's 4. So this is half of that. Not hard, but, you know, you got to put all those in and figure it out. Compared to the planets closer to the sun, the planets beyond Mars, so you're going to look at the same chart. Beyond Mars would be Jupiter, Saturn, and on. They don't have greater densities. They're not warm. They're not rocky. Yes, they do have shorter periods of rotation. Solar system formed from... It's not precipitation. It's not outgassing of volcanoes. Not compaction, cementation, contraction of a large cloud of gas. Correct. Wow. I do have to say, that's rough. That's a rough multiple choice section, so... Alright, let's see how the short answer goes here. So this is a cold front, just based off the steepness. So it says, question 1, identify the type of front. So that's a cold front. All right. 52. The greatest amount of lake effect snow occur when the winds blow across the greatest amount of surface. Identify the direction towards which the wind blow over Lake Erie that causes severe snow in Buffalo. So it's definitely going to be this way. Severe snow in Buffalo. So if you want to get to Buffalo and you have to go over the lake to get there, you got to go like this probably, or like at least that. So I would say it's from the west to east or southwest to northeast. So I'll go with northeast. All right, 53. How ice formation on the surface would reduce lake effect snow? If the thing's covered in ice, the air cannot pull the water into the air to add to the snowfall. So we'll say like the ice prevents water entering into the air from the lake. 54. To emergency action other than stocking up on food and water, would you prepare for a snowstorm? So I would say like you can have a radio. First aid kit is good. You could like charge all your electronics. Does it say like life or death? No, it just said to prepare. So that's pretty straightforward. 55. Identify the force that caused the crust to sink doing the weight because of the weight of the ice. The force has to be gravity. Gravity would be the force of going down. Yeah, gravity. I'm gonna go with gravity. Weird. 56. Identify the time period and epoch where this ice sheet advanced south to the Chicago region and then retreated back towards northern Canada. So we need the glacial ice sheet advancing south, and we want that to be on this thing here, the time scale. Is there like a glacial advancing south? Advance and retreat of last continental ice sheet. It's right there. It's the top one. So it's going to be Quaternary time period and the Pleistocene epoch. I'm going to fill those in. I'm going to probably spell these wrong. Okay, 57. Describe what's occurring in the plastic mantle that's causing Chicago to sink. Okay. So the plastic mantle is here. So you could see there's these arrows. It's convection currents. All right, 58. Identify the two solid layers that make up the Earth's lithosphere. So same chart. So if you look here, lithosphere, there's the two, crust and rigid mantle. $59, we got something centimeters. Okay, let's see what centimeters. Calculate the number of centimeters lower that Chicago will be after 20 years if the rate of sinking remains the same. So it says 0.15. So you just got to do 0.15 times 20. 3. So you had to read to get the 0.15. Glacial moraines have been found along the to advance this thing. Describe the arrange. Okay, anytime you see arrangement of sediments, that means unsorted or sorted. A moraine from a glacier is completely unsorted. Why do they give so much space? That's weird. I guess you can write unlayered too if you wanted to. Oh, it's a chart. Okay, so I'm not going to waste your time like with me plotting these. Oh man. Yeah, I'm not going to plot all these right now, but it should be a line that goes down somewhat like that if you plot them. So now it says place an X to represent the latitude where the angle of incidence of the sun rays would be 0 degrees on March 21st. Angle of incidence 0 degrees on March 21st. So look, angle of incidence at 0. So if you follow the line, it's going to be right there. Right there. State the number of hours of daylight that occur at all 6 of these. So since it's an equinox, it's going to be 12 hours everywhere. 64. We have radioactive decay. Determine the half-life of argon 39. Okay, I'm assuming argon 39 is not on the reference table, so we're going to have to figure that out. There is no argon 39. Right. So the half-life, if you could see 140 grams, and then here, where is it? 70. Right there, 70 grams. So how long did that take? It took like 275 years to get half of it cut away. So I'm going to guess 275 years. Probably a range for that one. 65. Okay, we got 100% originally. Calculate the percentage that is left in the sample after 3 half-lives. So here's how I do this. I go 0, 1, 2, 3. It's 100% at 0, so it's 50% here, 25% here, and then 12.5% would be left at 3. Because it's half, it cuts in half every time you do a half-life. 66, do we get to draw some ISO lines? Let's see. Complete the 30-degree Fahrenheit ISO line. Yay. Love it. Okay, so it's almost done. So we got to follow this. We're going to go between here, hit this 30, go between here, between 25 and 40 to get this 30, hit this 30, go between 28 and 39, here, this 30, and that 30. That's it. Okay. Most likely dew point in Portland at 3 p.m. on November 1st. Three p.m. What are we? Let me reread this. Most likely dew point in Portland. Where does it say about 3 cities? Portland, Phoenix, and Albany are all labeled on the map. Portland. What's the dew point? What is the ISO lines even showing? Above 50. Oh, it is dew point. Oh, okay. So since it's dew point, so the answer is between 50 and 60. Because they don't have a 60 line here, so I'm going to go with like, that's probably like 52. Okay. 68. Location X was CT. Okay. Describe the relative temperature and moisture of this air mass. Do not use numbers. So CT, continental tropical, which means it's dry and hot. Dry and hot. Continental is dry, tropical is hot. Next question, state the name of the weather instrument used to measure dew point. So that is a sling psychrometer. That's a memorize. Going on to 70. Describe how the arrangement of minerals in thin section A indicates that it's metamorphic. So they're layered like by density. You could also say it's foliated. Probably go with foliated. So if you didn't know that, you would go to your metamorphic rock chart and you could see like arrangement is foliated. So you could say mineral alignment. That's probably what I would say. The minerals are aligned. They probably would take layers of minerals, I would guess. But I would say foliation. All right, 71. Mineral X is very hard, composed of 4 elements, and fractures when broken. It's dark red. So the only one that's dark red right away is garnet. So, and that's just, if you go on the mineral chart, you could see right here, dark red. It's the only one that has dark red. And then you go jewelry, so it's garnet. 72. White rounded quartz grains are cemented together in rock B, have an average diameter of 0.05. What type of rock would this be? So we want 0.05 on the rock chart. So it's going to be sedimentary. Sedimentary 0.05 is going to be sand. So it's going to be sandstone. I do have to say, you know, as someone who's done a lot of these, this is definitely a challenging test. I get why people wanted me to do this. Thin section C shows a coarse-grained igneous rock containing crystals of potassium, feldspar, plagioclase, feldspar, quartz, and mica. What is this? So we want coarse-grained with all those minerals. So we're going to go here, go to our thing, coarse-grained, so somewhere in here. Potassium, feldspar, quartz, plagioclase, biotite, amphibole. Is that one of them? Nope. Feldspar, quartz, and mica. Oh, biotite mica. Yeah. So it's probably granite. Yeah, granite or pegmatite has those minerals. I'll put granite. 74. The photograph shows a thin section of igneous rock, coarse grain crystals, and fine grain. During the formation, the cooling rate changed. Describe how cooling rate that produced the coarse grain differed from fine grain. So coarse grain cools longer. The bigger the crystals, the longer it cools. So we'll say coarse cooled longer, and that is a memorize. You have to know that the bigger the crystals are, the longer it cools for. 75. On the diagram in your answer book, place an X on the moon's orbit to represent a new moon phase. Which one, A or B? B. So B, sun here. So new moon is going to be right there. It'll be between the sun and the earth. And then we have what type of eclipse can occur if the Earth is at position A. Okay, here, so it's a new moon, so this is going to block out the sun, so it's a solar eclipse. What do I have to explain? I don't feel like explaining. Explain why this may occur. The moon blocks out the sun. '77. One solar system object that has a period of rotation similar to the sidereal month of the moon. Okay, so we're going to... Sidereal month is approximately 27.3 days. So we need a solar system object that has a period of rotation that's 27.3 days. It's annoying. Period of rotation, 27.3 days. Sun. It's the sun. It's the only other solar system object that it could be. 78 is surface temperature. Describe how the surface temperature and luminosity of the blue main sequence star at A changes as it becomes orange supergiant. So blue main sequence star, orange supergiant. So look, it's way bigger. So if it's bigger, but it's going to orange, it's going to be cooler because orange is cooler than blue, but it's going to be way brighter. So cooler and brighter. The bigger the star is, the brighter it is. 79. One similarity between the composition of the core of supergiant B, so core is iron, and the composition of the core of the Earth. They're both iron. I mean, that easy? Yeah, they're both iron. We'll say they're both containing iron because technically the Earth's composition is iron and nickel. If you didn't know that, you can go to page 10 and it literally says it here. So it's not just iron. Identify the nuclear process. Anytime there's a nuclear process question, the answer is nuclear fusion because it's the only nuclear process you learn in the curriculum. So it's fusion. Just be careful you don't write fission because that's totally different. 81 something miles squared. Convert the area of deforestation in India during 2006 from kilohectares to square miles. Huh? Look at this. 1 kilohectare is equal to an area of 3.86 square miles. Are you kidding me? Which means that I got to take my kilohectares and multiply it by 3.86 because this question is weird. So my answer is 1,968.6. Why do they put that? I don't get that. Stupid question. One reason other than deforestation for an increase in more CO2. So the best thing to do is that we pollute. So we'll just say like burning fossil fuels. '83. Other than CO2, one other greenhouse gas. So there's two other ones that we talk about: methane and water vapor is another good one you could put. '84. The name of New York State landscape region where the Harbor Hill and Ronkonkoma Moraine are. Okay, so this is Long Island. We're going to go find out which thing on page 2 that would be. So it would be the Atlantic Coastal Plain. And then finally, the last question is, what compass direction did the glacier come down? So glaciers are always formed from the north, so it came from that direction. Came from the north. Because it's cold up there. Wouldn't come from the equator. Equator is generally warm. All right, team. That was all 85 questions. That was a doozy. That was one of the hardest ones that I've done in this series. If I were you, pick the topics that you were most confused on, go to my playlist that goes over all the topics, watch the videos there that you need help on, and then feel free to do some other Regences. I have about 5 of them or 6 of them, full ones recorded, so check out my Regents Review playlist there. And good luck on your studies, and I'll catch you on the next one. Good luck. Bye.